All right, it is time for Dabe, the possession. I think Dabe is the way it's said, right? So now, technically, I think this is the fourth
Right.
of seven, maybe eight
Yeah, we jumped
Dabe
in.
films.
Yeah, we jumped in like four deep already.
I don't think they have anything to do with one another, so I don't think it matters. I saw this on a list of lesser known found footage films you should watch, blah, blah, blah. And I saw that there was a Dabe 1, 2, 3. This does not have a number, but then, like, I think 5, 6, and 7 do have numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some other film in the middle here, because if you go on IMDb, it's like Dabe 1, 2, 3. Then there's like El Sin.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's this.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's like Dabe 5, 6, and 7. And you're like, but that's 8 films.
Yeah.
But the only one that isn't a Dabe
Right.
is El Sin.
Yeah, so it's like just kind of thrown in there.
I don't know. Anyway, this is a Turkish film.
Mm-hmm.
And it is about, it's kind of reminiscent a little bit of a television show that we're currently watching, Evil, which we are in the 3rd season of currently. We've been binging it. We'd never seen any of it as of like a week or two ago. 2 weeks. And we're very much in love with that show.
Yes.
High recommendation if you haven't watched it. It's very X-Files-y, except for it's more science versus religion.
It's wonderful. That's
It's
great.
as
It's
opposed
so
to
good.
science versus the supernatural,
Sure,
like
yeah.
aliens and whatever. So this is yet again like science versus religion, and the religious person is the woman, right? Or the scientific person's the woman,
the
like
woman.
in Evil, and then
And
you've got
X-Files.
the male faithful person, right? And so she wants to document this guy to expose him as a fraud, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to perform an exorcism, which he does in the beginning. And then she's like, nah, it could have been this, this, and this.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to pick your subject, and you're going to have to prove it to me. And so she takes him to somebody, and he tries to prove that he's legit, and she tries to prove he's full of shit. And it's up for you to decide throughout most of it.
I've decided.
Yeah, in the end, you definitely have a clear-cut answer. Well, we won't say what that is. But this is on Netflix. So I would definitely recommend it. I will say this. There's a couple things. I'm going to get your thoughts right after this, I promise. Number one, the film is long.
Mm-hmm.
It's like 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
All the Dabe or Elsin films, whatever the hell, are long. And one of them was like 3 hours. Like, I was really surprised when I was looking through the run times of each. I was like, Jesus Christ, almost all of these. I think 1 or 2 of them was like only an hour and a half, but most of them were like 2:15 to 3 hours. I was like, wow. So that is long. And I know a lot of people are not big on subtitles. So a 2 hour and 15 minute long found footage style horror film could be rough for some people. Number 2 is that there's going to be some camera work in here that is going to be fairly off-putting to people for sure. And it was right on the border for me of kind of frustrating and like, okay, we're using this a little too much. It's like they, instead of hiring a professional cameraman, they decided to give the camera to a paint mixer. And be like, this is our style during certain sequences. The whole film isn't like that.
No.
Just during the scare scenes. And this film is very action-packed. For a 2 hour and 15 minute movie, it fucking has so much going on all the time. And I could see that even being a downside for some people.
Yeah.
I know some people are like, oh, nothing ever happened in this movie. Well, you're never to say about this movie.
No.
Something is almost always going on.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I definitely think it's a recommendation. I really enjoyed it. I think that there's a lot of moments that genuinely scared me. And I love exorcism movies. I love, possession movies, found footage. So it was, a really good combination for me. And I think it's really fascinating to see, I was talking to you about it, the non-Christian type of exorcism. So, the medium, and with this being Turkish, so it's, an Islamic exorcism. I think
Dealing with jinns.
Yes, and I think that's really cool to get different religious perspectives on it and interpretations. And it was, yeah, I thought it was really cool. I agree with you about the camera work. There's some moments that it's definitely a little frustrating. But overall, I was able to like look past those because I think what was happening in those scenes was like freaking me out a good amount.
Yeah,
so,
you were a little on edge for sure.
Yeah, there's a couple scenes in particular that I was really like. There's one sequence that has an element that I already have a big affinity for as far as like what gives me the creeps, but I thought it was done really well. And
Mirrors.
It's mirrors, and there's some stuff that happens without giving any spoilers away, but. Yeah, I don't know if I would have a lot of, like, criticisms towards the film because I like how all of the, like, visceral things look, too. Like, the practical effects that are in there. Like, things look really gross, and I liked that a lot because it was, like, I don't know, it was really visceral. But maybe the runtime, although I feel like everything that happened had a purpose, and I didn't really feel like it was, like, unnecessary.
I will say, just, for you guys, every time this exorcist says it's over...
Oh, it's not
it's
over.
Not.
It's not.
This guy kind of sucks at his job. Oh my God, the
Thinks
amount of
it's
times
over.
that it's over, and it's not over. But you know it's not over. I'm not spoiling anything, because you check, like, he's like, it's over. We're done.
Like,
and then you,
so
like,
40
look, and there's
left.
an hour and 15 minutes left, and you're like, it ain't over.
Yeah.
And then he says it again with 45 minutes. And he says it again with 30 minutes. Then again, you're like, bro, it ain't over. Why do you keep saying this?
He just wanted it to be over.
Fucking kept expecting that 70s song to pop up. Baby, it ain't over till it's over. And you gotta, like, I want to see credits. I could even see in this movie the credits start wrong. They're like, psych!
It's not.
It's not over.
It's not.
It's not ever over.
Nope.
But yeah, as far as the effects go, while there are cool practical effects, and when she's saying practical, I don't want it to seem like there's like some gore-filled thing. It's not.
It's small.
It's small stuff. It's like hairballs and such. You'll see.
Yeah. But
there's nothing in the way of like great FX, right? And as far as like the visual effects go, I will say those are rocky. And there are moments where they felt pretty silly, honestly. There were certain movements that characters made or whatever that looked really silly, and it actually kind of made me snicker. So those moments can take you out of the film. But I think, as Kaylee said, I think it's really cool to explore other cultures, exorcisms, and their beliefs, and it kind of plays out like that, like what we always talk about like, fairy tales and local legends and all that kind of stuff. It's cool to see different iterations of them in other countries, because all exorcism movies here are the fucking Exorcist. I mean, we've talked about this before. I say almost every fucking exorcism movie made in America is the Exorcist. Whether it's condensed or whatever, it's the Exorcist, because that's just kind of like how that plays out. And there's those definitive films like Jaws is the shark movie, The Exorcist is the exorcism movie, Chucky is the doll movie, and kind of everything that comes after it really is not only like put up against it as a benchmark, but it's like they kind of already covered almost every ground they possibly could, so everyone's kind of like, I don't know what else to do. But zombie fucking people have really figured it out over the last 5 to 10 years. There's been so much inventive stuff, so you shouldn't use that as like an excuse. That all being said, I just think that the effects can be kind of silly, and the runtime can be kind of off-putting, and the subtitles, right?
Yeah,
but the film is low budget, so I'm willing to forgive, because I mean, there's tons of shit we watch that we love. Godforsaken, the Fear Footage 2, whatever, that we're like, okay, like, I get it, the acting is terrible or whatever in Fear Footage, or, in Godforsaken, there's some moments where the effects are really not great. but you get it. Like, you're like, okay, I'm willing to accept. As long as the movie's taking you along for the ride enough, you can meet them there, right?
Yes.
Like, they don't have to pick you. Like, if you have the budget, if you have $200 million, they should be able to pick you up and take you for the ride. I think with smaller budgeted films, they can kind of like start taking you and dragging you, and you kind of have to keep up with a little bit, right? They're not going to pick you up and take you the whole way. They're going to kind of give you a little boost, and you're going to be like, okay, I got to come with you a little bit.
Yeah.
I got to meet you halfway.
The story
and I'm okay
is
with that.
engaging, yeah, so that you're invested in what's happening, so you are able to overlook those kind of rocky moments.
Absolutely.
And for me, like, I was really into the story, so I was trying to think when you said that there was some like special effects that made you kind of cringe, and like I can't really think of any.
Oh, I'd have to show them to you, but it's 2.5 hour or 2 hour and 15-minute movies, so it'd be hard to find.
Yeah, I won't expect you to, but I was really into it, and I think you should watch it as long as you can read and don't mind longer movies and like found footage.
Another maybe small issue is that I think, and I feel like this is important because you're supposed to care, and I didn't as much. I did get pretty invested in the two main characters because you spend a lot of time with them, and there's some good charisma back and forth. He's missed, and another thing, I think the priest or whatever he is, I don't know what he's called.
Hoja?
Oh yeah, Hoja in the film, which means teacher, which I looked up and was like, teacher, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not what I expected, but whatever he is. He brings a lot of arguments to the table that I was like, okay, that's cool. Like, you're actually like trying to explain religion
like
through
mystical,
some bit of science to a degree, and I thought that I respected that. But we do spend a majority of the time with them, and so we really build up them. But then the other characters that we meet, that he's supposed to be performing the exorcism on one of them, and then the family that's surrounding them, I just would have gotten to know them more, and felt more for their plight, and that would have helped with where the film goes, especially. That all being said, I still think it's a cool movie. I still think it's worth your time, but you have to be a found footage fanatic. You have to be good with subtitled films, and you have to be able to look past some budgetary constraints. And I think you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
And it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
No. All right. And learn how to fucking read if you can. Bye.
Bye.